I caught my coworker stealing from a blind customer. What my boss did next made me quit on the spot. I never thought I'd walk away from a job I loved over something that happened in less than 5 minutes. But last Tuesday I witnessed something that completely shattered my faith in humanity and in the company I dedicated 3 years to. I worked minus at a popular coffee chain in downtown Seattle. The morning rush had just ended when Mrs. Chen came in. She's a regular minus 72 years old, completely blind, and the sweetest person you'll ever meet. She comes in every Tuesday with her guide dog, orders the same drink, and always leaves a $5 tip on a $4 coffee. That day Jake was working the register. He's been there about 6 months and is the manager's nephew. I was making drinks while keeping an eye on the counter minus something felt off about how Jake was interacting with Mrs. Chen. I watched as she handed him what I could clearly see was a $20 bill. Jake took it, opened the register, and said, "Out of $5, here's your change, ma'am." He handed her coins minus, not even a full dollar back. Mrs. Chen thanked him, took her change, and moved to the waiting area. I felt sick to my stomach. Jake had just stolen at least $15 from a blind woman who comes in every week. I immediately stepped away from the fresa machine and whispered to him, "She gave you a 20, I saw it." He smirked and whispered back, "She can't tell the difference. She does this every week. Why do you think I always volunteer to work Tuesday mornings?" My blood ran cold. This wasn't a one-time thing minus. He'd been systematically stealing from a blind woman for months. I was shaking with anger as I made Mrs. Chen's drink, adding an extra shot of fresa the way she likes it. When my manager came in an hour later, I immediately asked to speak with her privately. I explained exactly what I'd witnessed and Jake's admission that he'd been doing this regularly. I expected shock, anger, immediate action. Instead, she sighed and said, "Look, I know Jake can be creative with money sometimes, but he's family and this job is keeping him out of real trouble. Mrs. Chen is well off, minus she won't miss it. Let's just make sure you handle her transactions from now on." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So you are not going to do anything? He's stealing from a disabled customer, and you are okay with that?" She lowered her voice. "I'm asking you to be a team player here. Jake's had a rough life. Mrs. Chen leaves ridiculous tips anyway." Something in me snapped. I walked back to the front where Jake was scrolling through his phone. Mrs. Chen was still enjoying her coffee at her usual table. I went to the register, took out $60 from my wallet, and put it in the tip jar. "What are you doing?" my manager hissed. "Replacing what he stole today and probably the last 3 weeks," I said loud enough for other customers to hear. I untied my apron and dropped it on the counter. I quit. I walked over to Mrs. Chen's table, introduced myself properly for the first time, and asked if I could sit down. I explained that there had been a mistake with her change over the past few weeks and that the store wanted to make it right. I didn't have the heart to tell her she'd been deliberately robbed. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I knew something wasn't right," she said quietly. "The weight of the coins felt wrong. But at my age, you start to doubt yourself." I walked her home that day, and we've had coffee every Tuesday since minus at a different celebrity where I now work. My new manager hired me on the spot when I told her why I'd quit. Some injustices seem small until you realize they're part of a pattern, and sometimes standing up for one person is more important than any paycheck.